And we're live.
Greetings and
Live from
salutations.
Oklahoma.
It's not Saturday night, it's Sunday afternoon.
No, it's Saturday afternoon.
Did I say Sunday afternoon?
Saturday afternoon.
Greetings.
Torah with friends. No.
No, that's the show before us.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
But anyways, greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome
right.
back to another session of Two and a Half Opinions.
So it's not
I'm
Torah
Yishai.
with alternate friends?
Oh, we're all friends here.
Okay.
I'm not saying we're not friends, but Torah with Friends is the title of the previous
Ah, got
video.
it. Got it. Got it. Okay, I got to work on that. So, yeah. But anyway, regardless, folks, this is Two and a Half Opinions. I'm Frank.
I'm Yishai. Not the Rebbe will be back later. He's currently dealing with drill. So
Yeah. So, uh, this is Sarat. Now it's a double portion normally, and that's what is that again? That's Sarat what?
the double portion is usually Tazria, which is the one we're currently on, and um, I believe it's Matzara. Let
Met,
me double check.
Metzora, right?
Metzora.
Or am
Yes,
I not
Metzora.
pronouncing it
You're
right?
good. You're good. You're good.
Excuse me. So it's a double portion, and it's split because it's a leap year as far as the Hebrew calendar is concerned. Um, Jesse, Passover's in what, 2 weeks?
I believe so. We're in
Okay.
April now. Um,
See, is it the 18th or 19th that is the first evening? It's a Friday.
Oh, we need to be careful about that. If we start doing the whole evening morning business, we're going to have a whole debate over which day you actually celebrate it. But if you're going based on the Jewish calendar, it is Friday evening, April 19th is when
Ah,
Passover kicks off. But that, as I
okay.
said, only if you're dealing with the Jewish calendar.
Well, and that's what I deal with is a Jewish calendar. That's what you guys deal with is a Jewish calendar.
I know, but
So,
there are so many
I-
different opinions on that subject.
well, yeah, I know, but but this is our show, so our opinions matter. No, I'm
Ouch.
kidding, folks.
Ouch.
I'm kidding, folks. I'm teasing.
But
No,
anyways,
it is what we deal with uh, because we choose to believe in that way. If somebody else has a different idea, that's up to them. You should whatever community you're a part of is how you should perform whatever you believe in. A long time ago on Pal Talk, there was this guy named Svat, and he's a rabbi, and he said whatever community you're in is what you adhere to. So if the community does it one way, communally you do it that way. In your own private residence, you do it whatever way you see fit. So, and I think that's an important disclaimer, um, because a man in his house is his castle, at least here in America. Okay, if you're someplace else in another part of the world, you may not have that luxury. Uh, should we all pray for the people who don't have that luxury? Yeah, we should. But um, but here in America at this time, okay, at this current moment, with the state of things and the way things are, we have that luxury. So um, all I can say is pray for the peace of Jerusalem, as far as that's concerned. But we're
so
dealing with, yeah,
no, as you were about to say, I'm pretty sure you were about to go in the same direction, dealing with Tezria,
yes,
the Torah portion.
yes.
How would you sum that up in say 20 seconds?
In,
Ready, go.
in 20 seconds, I wouldn't even know it. Where's my dictionary? No, in 20 seconds, it's all about ego and where you are spiritually as to what level of Surah you have.
That's an okay. I can see that. Consi-
Did I make 20 seconds?
you were flat under 20 seconds. God.
Okay,
But
I'm good. I'm good. Good.
yeah, yeah. To give a synopsis so that people know where we're reading. It's Leviticus chapter 12, verse 1 through Leviticus chapter 13 through 59, verse 59. That is the covered portion for this week's Torah portion.
Right, that's the
Now,
covered portion in
uh,
Leviticus.
other communities will add other portions, like say Chabad will add Numbers chapter 28, 9 through 15, because they believe it is applicable to the portion, since this portion is not as its double portion that it normally is in. But as a brief synopsis, this section only deals with uncleanliness in some form or fashion. The first portion deals with the uncleanliness of a woman after giving birth. Now that's a strange one because they're already unclean for menstruation. Now they're unclean for birth. What the heck? Moving on,
Ooh,
they immediately afterwards, the entire portion tends to cover the concepts of trying to discover Sarat. For those who don't understand Sarat, um, a type of leprosy. It's the biblical leprosy. We don't have anything like that today, which is
right. What we have today is Hansen's disease. I think it's called.
maybe.
What we assume is leprosy.
Yeah, we have a different form of leprosy. We just assume it's leprosy because it has a similar effect. But this it deals with leprosy on a person, then it deals with leprosy on items. How can you have leprosy on items? But that's going to get us off on a different tangent, and you can have
You can
leprosy.
have leprosy in a house.
Yeah, which I'm going to delve a little bit on that, just a little bit. I'm not knowledgeable, but I'm going to delve a little bit on that. So, yeah, leprosy and uncleanliness for this portion. This sounds like a very sickening portion. So, what shall we
True.
cover
True.
to get us kicking off?
Well, I just want to say that chapter 12 seems to be like the shortest chapter in any of the books of Torah. I think. I'm not sure, but it's only 8 verses. It's like, wow, why did the rabbis decide to, you know, section it off like this? But it has to do with a woman's ritual uncleanness. Okay, not spiritual or anything else, just ritual uncleanness. So,
Yeah, the
because
the woman cannot go into the tabernacle to offer sacrifices during this time frame.
right, except on the 8th day when the son is circumcised, or on the
19th,
15th day
15th
if it's a
day.
daughter. Right. So,
Exactly.
but anyway, it's like, hmm. And I have my own reasons for thinking why it's this way, but that's a logical reason, not necessarily a biblical reason. So I don't know. But anyway, so what part are you going to read?
I think considering this covers a lot of Sarat, uh, I think I'm going to hit on the second Aliyah. That's where we'll go
Okay.
from here.
Okay. So let me know when you're ready.
I am set and ready. Always ready.
Okay. Blessing before the reading. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bakar banu mikol ha'amim bitan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah. Melech Ne'eman.
Amen. Leviticus chapter 13, verse 6 through 17, the second Aliyah, read from Chabad.org's translation. And the Cohen shall see him on the seventh day a second time, and behold, the lesion has become dimmer, and the lesion has not spread on the skin. The Kohen shall pronounce him clean. It is a mispachat. He shall immerse his garments and become clean. However, if the mispachat spreads on the skin after it has been shown to the Kohen for its purification, it shall be shown to the Kohen a second time, and the Kohen shall look at it, and behold, the mispachat has spread on the skin. The Kohen shall pronounce him unclean. It is tzarat. If a man has a lesion of tzarat, he shall be brought to the Kohen. The Kohen shall look at it, and behold, there is a white spot on the skin, and either it has turned the hair white, or there is healthy live flesh in the seeth. It is old tzarat on the skin of his flesh, and the Kohen shall pronounce him unclean. He need not quarantine him, because he is unclean. And if the tzarat has spread over the skin, where the tzarat covers all the skin of the person uh, with the lesion, from his head to his feet, wherever the eyes of the Kohen can see it, the Kohen shall look at it, and behold, the tzarat has covered all his flesh. He shall pronounce the person with the lesion clean. He has turned completely white. He is clean. But on the day that the live flesh appears on it, he shall become unclean. When the Kohen sees the healthy live flesh, he shall pronounce him unclean. The live flesh is unclean. It is tzarat. But if the healthy live flesh once again turns white, he shall come to the Kohen, and the Kohen shall look at it, and behold, the lesion has turned white. The Kohen shall pronounce the lesion clean. He is clean.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'kayei olam nata b'tukenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah. Melech Neman.
Amen. Well, this should be rather fun to try to cover, considering we're dealing with Sarat being clean, Sarat being unclean but still permitted back into the camp, being clean and permitted back into the camp. It's a rather large quandary, if you will.
It almost sounds, when you were reading that, it almost sounds like if he's all leprous, then he's not infectious. But if he shows healthy skin again, he's unclean. So maybe that's the thing. Because if you're only partially leprous, you're contagious. Maybe. It's just something that popped into my head. I'm not sure. But it is weird. And you and I both went with the understanding that it's a spiritual uncleanliness. This is a physical manifestation of a spiritual condition. I posted an article on Two and a Half Opinions Facebook, Torah in 10 from Chabad.org. And that's what it talks about. It talks about a spiritual condition or an ego. So if you're there's three levels of the ego that this rabbi talks about. The first level is like under the surface, like one of uh, the pictures of Zarat, if you read the text. Then there's one that's right at the surface. Then there's one that's above the surface. Below the surface is, and I hope I remember this properly, if somebody does some unsavory things but does other good things, then they kind of like, well, yeah, I do these things, but I do these things over here, so I'm okay, right? And then on the surface is, yeah, well, I'm okay, I'm good, but I'm still better than you. And then there's the one that's above the surface is, I'm just famous, I'm fabulous, I'm better than everybody. So, and to make a short explanation of that, that's kind of what they allude to as far as the types of sarat. Is it is it sarat? Am I pronouncing it right?
Surat, yes.
Okay. So with that, where do we go from here? I mean, your dad, Chris, has always brought up the fact that why don't we have this sarat today, the way it's described in the scripture? And I think he's got a very valid point that it's because we are so far from the original situation, so far from the garden, that we're this far removed from God that essentially, and I hope I'm not misrepresenting this, essentially it's a mercy from God that we don't have it because there's no way for us to get rid of it if we did have it. I think that's essentially what Chris was trying to point out.
It was
So,
something along those lines. He, if I remember correctly, he was trying to describe that the separation God has made between himself and mankind allows for levels of inappropriate approaches to not cause Sarat. Sarat
right.
would be a high form of punishment without committing death. And in all honesty, the more I've read about Sarat, the more I would say that Sarat is like hanging a man. They are neither dead nor are they alive. They're alive physically, yes, but spiritually, communally, they are considered by the community as dead. They are removed from the camp so that the Surat may be cleansed.
Okay, so are you saying that there were essentially two different people?
I would fair fancy the possibility of saying such a thing. I believe that one should never look at themselves as just an individual, but also one should never look at themselves as just a cog in the grand machine. They should look at themselves as both. As an individual, they are fantastic organisms that can do many, many multiple things, but also by themselves, they are useless as well. An individual can do so much to uh, by themselves, but without the community, without the interlocking of family, of friends, of the entire nation that you serve, it's you. It's almost like you're a dead man walking.
Uh, okay, so a person, an individual, can do many great things, but only on a small scale. Whereas it takes many individuals to do greater things on a larger scale. Is that a good way to put it?
I can see that, yeah.
Okay.
Considering the fact that you are an individual, yes, but even in the tithe that you are to give to God, it is, I am Jesse, son of Chris, son of Tom, moving down the line of the names, going from there. It is not me as an individual who's coming to God, it's me as part of the community that is coming towards God to be numbered in the
Okay.
community.
Okay. I'd like to make another observation. It is as if we are, again, as Chris says often, we're two beings. We are a physical animal being, and we are a spiritual being entwined together because we are all given the spark of God, which grants us life. And that part is the spiritual, whereas our physical animalistic being is oh, I'm hungry, I gotta go eat, that oh, I gotta go take a toilet break, I gotta go do all of these physical things, these animalistic things that happen with all of the creatures in nature. But yet the spiritual side can only be realized with another or with a group. I mean, yes, you can have a spiritual experience by yourself, but then what? Whereas group worship or community like the Hasidic community or the Breslov or some of the other, even Kabbat, the community gets together and it's a much richer uh, um, meaning or activity um, or joining with God. It's a greater.
A better, I would dare say, a better way to suggest it came from a description I have heard of take take for example the a liver cell. It is a grand organism, just the cell itself. DNA, RNA, mitochondria, everything inside it allows it to be its own self-powered entity. But it by itself makes the greater whole, the liver. And the liver by itself makes part of the grand whole, the body. And that individual by themselves is one part of the grand whole of the community around them, their
Right,
friends, their family. It is you you are you are a fantastic individual, but you are also a fantastic part of the whole.
right, right. So 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 how do we understand this? There's and the, I think the only way to understand what's going on here is to know that you have to have the high priest or a priest. I don't know if it says the Cohen Hagadol, but a Cohen to inspect you.
It says either Aaron or his sons, so it can
Okay,
be.
so you have to have a priest to inspect you. Well, why is that? It basically, I think, my opinion is it's because you can't see all of your missteps. You can't see all of your body. You can't physically put your eyes on your back. You can't turn your head around like an owl. You can't see, you know, other parts. So how are you going to inspect all of you? Yes, you can see a good portion of you, but how do you how do you see the rest? And it's these areas that you can't see normally, in my opinion, that may hide part of your uncleanness, part of your spiritual uncleanness. And you must have another outside of your body to look and hold you accountable to the rules and laws and ordinances that you say that you're accountable to. See, that's the thing. You have to believe and adhere and admit to being accountable to Torah before it really matters whether Aaron can see or his sons can see a lesion on you. Because if you're outside of Torah, you really don't care about this. But if
Well,
you,
that
yeah,
does that does add to it of the fact of the two times we see concepts of what causes Sarat to occur on the skin, the two physical times we actually see it in a story, usually involve both either Lashon Hara, the evil inclination, what you are saying with your mouth against another member of the community, or the haughtiness, the lack of, oh, my brain went blank on it. The lack of, there we go, the lack of humility
Right.
that you have in your system. If you treat yourself as a holier than thou individual and you lack the humility to at least realize where you stand. Those are the
Right.
two primary sources that have been visually seen when it comes to the matter of Sarat. So, in essence, Sarat is a punishment of quite literally saying, okay, fine. You want to talk against the community that you are a part of? You want to talk against the whole that you are a part of? Then I will separate you from the whole. You will have to be outside the camp. You will be treated as dead when it comes to the rest of the camp, which is rather interesting as I've noticed that Surat, the way it is treated as if one is dead. And you had made the statement of we have seen the fact that other items can also have Surat. So in essence, it can spread, but I dare say that it only spreads in the same sense that in Torah it says if a person dies in their house, the things, the objects in that area are also unclean, even if they did not come in contact with that corpse. So in essence, Sarat on an object is very similar to that of the uncleanliness of an object in the presence of death.
Right. And the first time we see that is Miriam when she speaks against Moses. Now, it's interesting that Aaron didn't get Surat, but then again, Aaron was already the high priest, I think, at the time. So it would be,
I
be
dare
kind of
s- I dare say though we got to be careful with that one because I dare say that we should not think that Aaron is permitted to act the way that Miriam did and escape from such things like Surat.
correct, correct. And I wasn't trying to say that he was above it. I was saying that it's interesting that he didn't get struck dead because he is at a higher state of holiness than the rest of the community at that time. At least that's what it appears to be. So, but I see a lot of what I read and understood to be yeah, I think you're correct. It's a way to physically separate people from the community. And like it or not, people are going to remember that, oh, wait a second, didn't you have Zerat last week? Weren't you unclean just the other day? Get away from me. Shoot, shoot. It's
But in all honesty, you got to be careful about that one because if you do that, if anyone even remotely acts like that to the person who has finally become clean and returned to the community, I would I dare not say that I would speak for God, but I'm pretty sure God would be of that inclination of you want to treat someone who had just gone through hell and back? Fine, you experience it.
exactly. And that's the next place I was going. Uh, be careful what you say of others because it could very well happen to you. So again, the lashon hara. But people, and because we're animals, we remember those things, and we may not hold it against somebody, but we may look, skeptically at somebody and go, "Hmm, I wonder," and not necessarily make an accusation, but they'll hold it. They'll keep it in mind when they deal with the person. Um, if once the person displays proper behavior or proper, uh, conciliatory actions, they, oh, okay, yeah, you're good, fine, no problem, and go from there. But yeah, you got to be careful about what you say of others, considering whatever they are going through, because again, it could happen to you. And I know we're going a little bit far afield on some of the meanings of this, but uh, I can't help but think of those things because thank the Most High, blessed be He, we don't have Surat, at least not that we can see. It's not like it was then, and I think that's a mercy from the Most High, um, because we're not as close to Him as Moses and Aaron and Miriam were, and as each successive generation gets farther and farther and farther away from the garden, uh, things become, I wouldn't say relaxed, but I would say, um, what, less pertaining to, less, what do you think?
What do you mean? What are you shooting for?
Well, like Chris says, we don't see Sarat because we don't have a way to get rid of it. But is that a good thing or a bad thing? We're so far away from God that, you know, that doesn't it, you said it earlier, it becomes a less, what is it, restrictive, or less, uh darn it.
The distance from God becomes now I've even forgotten the word what I had said, but the
I'm so
mindset
glad I'm not the only one.
the mindset being that God's distance from us acts like acts like a barrier because we are now granted leniency whenever it
That's it,
comes to
leniency, leniency.
whenever it comes to what comes from our mouth.
Right, right. Now, even though we're granted leniency, that doesn't mean that we're exempt. Okay, you can only be, given so much of a leash, if you will, before you get caught up in it. Uh, it's we must still be mindful of how we treat each other. We must still be mindful of what we say, what we do, and how that relates to how we relate to God. So even if we are farther away and He's more lenient with us because we don't have a way to get rid of Tzara, that doesn't mean that it won't be a problem. I mean, personally, and again, I'm not speaking for God, but I can see where some people uh, had things going on for them, and they advanced, and they did this and they did that, and then because they were so self-centered that they felt that they could have an affair, and then everything else started, falling down because, uh, and I'm not trying to speak about anybody in particular because I shouldn't uh, rejoice in the downfall of an enemy. But the fact is that this individual who was at odds with me a long time is going through this, and I'm like, yeah, it was going to happen to you one day, sooner or later. And
And
this is
see, there's where I would, there's what I, there's with everything we have learned about Surratt, there's where I would caution a choice of wording and a choice of direction, because it's one of those moments of, if it's going to happen to one person, it can happen to someone else if God deems it
true,
necessary.
very true,
All
very true.
because of what was being said at the time.
Right, and again, we shouldn't rejoice in the downfall of an enemy or an adversary, but we should learn that, I don't ever want to do that. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to do that over there or that over there or all the other things that this individual, did to me. The person hasn't sought forgiveness, but I can say I forgive them because I see how they are. Unless they actually have a spiritual come to Jesus meeting, they're not going to uh, change. The only way to get somebody's attention who's that far gone is for them to fall. And in failing, maybe they will recover some sense of their self and be better for it. Um, because we are given the chance to fail so that we can learn from our mistakes and we can do better the next time. That's how we learn. That's just the human condition. The thing is, are we too prideful to learn? That's the question. And that's the question I have about this individual. And I'm like, I don't know.
Well, it is not our place to judge individuals, it is God's.
True.
So, but anyways, let's see what more we can learn about this portion. I mean, we've dealt with Surat in quite detail, but it seems like outside of the uncleanliness of a woman after giving birth, Surat is all we have to go on at the moment, which is kind of strange for a single portion all by itself.
True. True. It's again, I think it boils down to having somebody to keep accountability of you. In other words, if you subscribe to the Torah, then you need a community to keep you accountable so that you go, oh yeah, I forgot, I got to do this, or oh yeah, you're right, I'm so sorry. And it's you need friends and family and people that you know to help keep you humble. I don't mean beat you down. You did this. No, 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 that's not what I mean. It's hey, what's going on? You talked like that, and you did this, and it's you have to be to that point where you go, oh yeah, I'm sorry. A lot's been going on. I completely, messed up. I'm sorry. Uh, I'll try and do better next time. And it has to be um, it has to be earnest. It has to be real. It has to be a true wanting to change or correct the situation. So I don't know what else I can say about that. Um,
And that, I feel like I'm jumping straight back into Surat whenever I thought I left it alone. That way of thinking is, I truly think, is God's way of using Surat, using um, leprosy. Is everything that transpires about it usually shows a subject of death of a death, but not a death. You're physically alive, but the spots, the whiteness of your skin, no joke there. The white markings of your skin, splotches. You are splotched, splotchy. You are splotchy with white patches,
Okay.
where it almost seems like you have lost color in your skin. You have
I was going to say because this isn't exactly white. It's kind of peach color maybe. You know, but no, no.
it
The
is
the white that is talked about in the text is almost like the white of a sheet of paper. Okay, it's
it's
that.
the white of death.
Yeah, yeah. It's that whitewash. Okay, it's that leaching of color from from the skin. It becomes like parchment color or paper color. Okay, it's not skin color. It's not skin tone. No matter what skin you have, it actually it looks white, like whitewash or paint or whatever. It's that level of distortion in your skin. That level of well, maybe it's the level of life that's removed from the portion of your skin that's got Sarat. Yes, no? You there? Can you hear me?
Can, can you hear me?
Now I can.
Ah,
Yeah.
I had myself muted. Sorry. Um, but yeah, the whiteness of the whiting of your skin. It it kind of is a physical representation of the spiritual ailment or malady you are dealing with,
Right.
or communal in this case, considering that the point of view hinges on the subject of how you treat your fellow man, how you
Right.
treat your community, and how you separate yourself or tie yourself to the community you are with.
Yeah. Like again, and maybe it's the
Oh, to
what?
add to it real quick,
Yeah.
the same thing is applicable to one who is in mourning or one who is excommunicated. And it was said perfectly on the subject of the one who is in mourning, because the one who is excommunicated, it makes sense. They are separated from the camp, they are removed from the community. With Zerat, you are removed from the community, just like that of one who has been excommunicated. But one who is in mourning, and these are two opinion. These are these. This is an opinion I have heard from some of the old dead guys. Of these three types of people are almost one and the same for one reason or another. And it did seem puzzling to make the statement that one who is in mourning is in the same concept as someone who is dealing with Sarat or someone who is excommunicated. Because if you're mourning for someone who is dead. You're not you're not mourning for yourself. Someone who is in Sarat, if they were in mourning, they would be mourning for themselves in a sense. But then one rabbi was given a suggestion from a man who was on their deathbed. Someone who is in mourning is the alive equivalent to what the man who is dying should be doing. Because the man who is in mourning for the one who is about to die, they lose one individual. But the man who dies loses his entire community. He is
Okay.
separated from his physical community. once he dies. Now,
Well,
granted, we all know going to heaven, you are connected back to your spiritual community. But who in their right mind would want to give up their physical form?
you're going
With
back to last week's portion
with
about.
with with the people you love, with the family, the friends that you've made, why would you want to leave?
Well, true, true, but
So you would mourn for the fact of losing the community that you have. Sure, you're gonna uh, you your spirit belongs to God, so it will return in that fashion. But it's still that subject of you're about to lose everything you've built, everything you've established as your interlocking desire with something greater.
true, true, but um, last week, Nadab and Abihu, uh, supposedly they were so spiritually enthralled that they wanted to join with God, that God granted their wish. Um, but there's a lot of times where people are in such great mourning or such great pain, they just wanted to stop. And and I'm not trying to take this subject lightly, uh, but there are times people are in such great pain that they commit suicide. Suicide's not the way, but it happens. Um, and I can see where somebody who is in mourning could be cut off because they're so emotionally wrapped around who they're losing. Heaven forbid it's a child, or heaven forbid it's a father or a spouse. It's because we make such a great physical and emotional connection to the ones we love that when we lose them, we feel the pain. We Yes, it's our pain, okay, because the one we love is being ripped away from us. Uh, it's 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 quite painful. I went through it when I was getting divorced, and the the pain was real. Um, the pain of being separated forcibly was real. So much so that it can stress you out. It can cause illness, physical illness, because of the pain. It's man. Well, I guess I should talk about it. It can cause physical manifestation. It can affect your sight because it affected mine. I went to the doctors and they said, "Well, what's going on?" And I said, "Well, I'm getting divorced and I'm doing this." And I was like, "Well, you're stressed. You're under stress because this eye, half of the vision was um, like when you squint your eyes and you open them back again, you see all that stuff flying around, right? Well, it was happening this side of my face on this eye, uh, and it was stress from the morning of losing someone, and I can understand that the attitudes and emotions and feelings that they can separate you from everybody else. It just depends upon how you deal with it as to how well you adapt to that loss, how soon you stop mourning, how quickly you recover. Um, we get okay. When you sit shiva, okay, that's 7 days, right? You muted again.
I went the wrong direction with the mute button. I believe, yes.
So
You asked the question when you said Shiva 7 days. I said I believe so. Yes.
I couldn't hear you. Okay, so it's 7 days, and it's all about mourning, and it's about comforting the person who's lost the person, and it's about trying to uh, uh, help them regain their emotional stability. Okay, and in the same way, the person who's mourning is like the person who has Sarat because they're trying to recover their emotional stability. They're trying to search themselves to say, okay, what have I done wrong? What's causing this manifestation? And they seek and they think and they pray. And I think that's the proper medicine, if you will, for these things because you think, you seek, you pray to God and say, please help me, you know, and He does. The Most High, blessed be He helps us. And it could be as something as small as a close friend coming over and, giving you some, and not trying to be cliche, but chicken soup, uh, and talking to you and helping you work out your emotions. Uh, and it can be as, and I'm only supposing back in the day when they did the cleansing, is that the 7 days were days of reflection while they were outside the camp. And a person who was honest with themselves would most likely be cured, and then they could enter the community again. And I think that's why the separation, and it's, shut them up for another 7 days and shut them up for another 7 days, and until they're one way or the other. And that's, it might take some individual longer to come to grips with their problems, and that's understandable because we all work, act, understand slightly different from each other. I mean, I'm not you, you're not me. So, but how do we come together to work this out? And I think that's what it's. I think this is. My opinion is that's what this is trying to show us.
Trying to show a concept of working together and bringing everything full circle.
Yeah, yeah, because Aaron and his sons are okay. It's a poor analogy, but they're like the medicine men, or better yet, they're like the psychologists who help us see what's wrong and help us to correct what's wrong. Okay, uh, they could be like the doctors who you look at the symptoms and they go, oh, wait a second, what about this? And that's what the doctor did with me. So, oh, you're being stressed. You're going through all this stressful situation, and that can happen. These things can happen with stress. Stress can do some really bad things to your body, really bad things. Uh, Heart rate, blood pressure, uh, headaches, you name it. It can do a lot of things. Not good, not good. And my opinion is, I think that that's what these individuals are going through is stress from being separated, whether it's from the death of a loved one or the getting sarat or anything like that. So maybe we should look at the situation and have compassion. We shouldn't wag our finger or our tongue and say, you got what you deserved. That's not the way to do things. You know. Yes, no?
It is true because the separation of one from their community is almost is is almost like a death of personality. It's it's one of the worst deaths you could probably experience while still being alive. And that is why I truly think, to some degree, leprosy is God's form of hanging an individual. Because a man who is a man who is hung as that form of capital punishment is caught in the middle,
Right, suspended
ca-
between heaven and earth,
suspended between heaven and earth, cannot go one way, cannot go the other.
which is why the Torah says you shall not leave them there overnight. You cut them down so
Hence
they can
why,
be buried.
hence why the whole concept of leprosy, it is a spiritual, a communal disease that can be that can be cleansed based on your spiritual self, your communal self.
I think so. I think so. So,
But there's more to that whole cleansing bit that I would like to cover. But that's going to have to wait till next Torah portion. Because if I try to cover it today, I'd have to jump in next week's portion. And I don't really feel like doing that right now. I think we should wait, hold that, save it for
so stay tuned for our exciting conclusion next week. Tune in, same bad time, same bad channel.
pretty
Yeah.
much at the pretty much at this rate, considering where the portion uh considering that the ending of this portion trails off as if it needs more, as if it's missing something, as if it's cut off too soon.
Well, okay, all right. Interesting that you use the word cutoff, but I think they chose the best point with which to terminate this week's portion because it is a double portion, and we're in a leap year, so this is a separate portion from Metzora, which is next week's, and they're related. It's to use Chris's explanation, bookends. They meet together,
They are sort of like chiasms, but
right?
different in a sense as well.
There you go, using fancy words like chiasms.
Chiastic structure, why not? It is our bookends that Papa loves.
True,
It,
true.
the
But
chiasm is the do re mi do re do concept. The bookends, add filler, come to the climax, come back down.
stay away from the do re mi. I'm not watching Song and Music anymore, ever again.
Then why not Gone with the Wind?
Yeah. Okay. All right. You got me there. But that's not a musical, whereas the other one is. So, frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn. No. So, uh, but yeah, I think, I think the takeaway is, in my opinion, my takeaway is that we all need to be careful of how we treat our fellow person. Um, we don't know where they're at. They don't know where we're at. You know, uh, how we deal with somebody. You know, sometimes tough love is required, and sometimes not. The the problem is knowing which one. So just be careful on how you treat people, and don't think so much of yourself. You're not that great. You're great according to God, but you're not Superman. Superman is a fictitious character. Same with Batman and all the other superheroes. It's great because they embody these ideals. Captain America. But we're all human. We are all flawed, but that's what makes us unique. So be careful how you treat your fellow. Be careful how you treat your neighbor. I think that's the takeaway, as far as I'm concerned. What do you think?
I would believe that would be a good takeaway considering Surat is a subject matter of communal separation. And the the way to handle communal separation is reminding yourself what you are in value to the community, reminding yourself what you are as a, pardon the phrasing because I know many businesses use it, a cog in the wheel that makes the entire engine run.
Okay. Um, I would think that the separation would teach you that the other parts of the machine are important to you and that you shouldn't think more highly of yourself than the other parts of the machine.
It is why
Because,
it is why, based on that statement alone, it is why I always take the approach of, in a religious matter, the Jew has his part to play. The Gentile has his part to play. One part is not better than the other. One part just has a different role, such as such as I cannot remember where it is quoted. I need to get better at that. But but the hand cannot say that it wants to be a foot.
true,
The eye cannot wish to be uh, a mouth. It is that concept of each part of you has a purpose, has a reason. If it starts assuming it is better than the whole entirely, then it should be removed.
true, true. Um, I think that's an accurate statement. Because if the eyes become too proud over the mouth, then the mouth stops functioning, and the eyes grow dim because of lack of nutrition. And then the eyes go, "Hey, what's going on?" And the mouths go, "Oh, now you see how important I am. Not more than you, but equal." So, yeah, yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think it's a good takeaway. So I guess that's it, huh?
It is a short session for a short portion, but I believe we covered what we knew and I hope we gave those listening something to take away from what we have said.
Ah, okay, okay. Well, I guess. All right.
I believe this would be two and a half opinions. We are thankful for your joining of our show.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of stumbled over my words there. We are we are thankful for your listening. We hope to see you again next time. I hope we did answer at least some of the questions in the chat, considering there were some asking about our statement of us being animals, and I'm pretty sure we cleared that up, and the whole concept between Sirat and leprosy. I hope we cleared that up as well. But if you have any more questions, comments, concerns, let us know. Facebook, here on YouTube, any way that is possible. We thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon. I'm Yishai. And I think Frank was there, but he is not there now. It is good to see you again. Shavua Tov, Laila Tov, and Lehitrot.